Hi there and welcome to my lab life. My name is Lucy. Yeah, and if this is your first time, welcome. And here in Kenya we say karibu sana. Yes, so this channel is all about laboratory tutorials, laboratory demos, life as a scientist, work-life balance. Yeah, so for us who are new, just to let you know that I have been sharing my journey for the last over 5 years of when I started doing my master's program. Now I have finished my PhD program. So it's simply just to encourage all of us who are women in science, and of course everybody else, including men, just to have a snippet of what it is to be in medical lab, in medical research, yeah, and of course advancing your academics in this particular career. So karibu, and kindly, if you haven't subscribed, please do also like this video and share. And for us who have been with me, my friends, my colleagues, and all of us across the world, thank you so much for always being here, and I'm very grateful. And I just thought about it today that maybe you should tell me what has inspired you the most so far. Yeah, if you are able, kindly write in the comment section what you have liked most, and probably also what you'd want to see more from this channel. Now, for all of us, remember to like, to share, and to subscribe. Now, I have been doing my PhD journey, and this is episode 4. So if you haven't watched the previous episodes, please do, so that you can get the context for today's conversation. So today I'm talking about something very important that I actually hinted last time, and I know we are all eager to listen to it. And these are the check boxes that we must tick whenever we are evaluating any opportunity. So this applies to every career, everyone. So either is it a job, is it a scholarship, is it a promotion, whatever opportunity that comes along the way. What are those check boxes that are important to tick before you can accept an offer? So I mentioned that when I got my PhD opportunity, I had a lot of check boxes that I wanted to tick. Maybe because I stayed for 3 years at home, and so I had time to synthesize my career, to think about what I want in the next few years, in the next many years. So I had a lot of check boxes that I had already kind of stipulated. So I had many, but then I had 3 most important, the ones I would say that without these ones, I feel like I do not want to take, or I want to take this opportunity. So these 3, I honestly want to talk about them today. And see, I had told you that you're going to be the judge whether I should have or should have not taken this opportunity entirely. So the first checkbox number 1 was funding sustainability. So the day I went to MKU to now discuss the PhD opportunity in malaria research, I was hoping, or probably in my mind, I knew it is going to be a fully funded opportunity where my school tuition is fully covered, project fully financed, and also have a reasonable stipend. But let me take you back. So when I was doing my master's program, I mentioned that I got an African Union scholarship. So I did my master's at PhD. So that program was 100% financed, project, tuition, and I had a very reasonable stipend of 750 USD net. And this was actually a year after I finished my BSc, and therefore that was quite a lot of money, I must say, at that time. So it was enough for me to leave, to focus on my research and also to grow. Yeah. Now here I am, and I am having a PhD opportunity offer. Yeah, and so we go to discuss, and I realized that it only has project financing, and therefore the school fees are not covered. And then there's a small stipend, which is what I'm expected to use to cover my living expenses as well as pay for my tuition. So I was confused. And at that time, I was like, okay, should I take the opportunity? Should I not take the opportunity? Yeah. Now, around that time, that was in 2022, I had already started teaching. Actually, from 2020, 2021, and now in 2022, I was a part-time lecturer at Kirinyaga University, and I was teaching biotechnology and also forensic science. So, I convinced myself now that I have this opportunity, and then I'm able to also teach on part-time basis at Kirinyaga, then possibly that is going to supplement, and I'm going to be able to cover my tuition and of course also living expenses. Yeah, so I accepted the offer without fully ticking this box. It was really not conclusive whether it is good to take or not to take the opportunity. So I must say that if there is a decision that cost me, is that decision. Yeah, because now the pressure was a lot. I had a lot of financial pressure because in addition to me being able to, do my research, remember I'm doing my research, I'm doing analysis. I also mentioned I started learning R programming, which would take my night and day. There's lab experiments. Now I am going to Kirinyaga twice a week, and I need to plan the lesson plans, prepare lessons, cards, assignment, mark, exams. And I remember even now pushing so that my lessons are within one day, so that I would go to Kirinyaga, arrive there by around 7 a.m., teach back to back the whole day. By the time I was leaving Kirinyaga, I would be too exhausted, and maybe I'm driving, I'll come back. I just felt like I'm a zombie. And from the other 4 days within the week, I've been doing research, I've been doing R, so there was all that. And then later, because when you don't have financial security and sustainability, you tend to want to take every other opportunity that gives you some money. So I also started teaching on part-time basis on weekends at Mount Kenya University. We had some online weekend classes for medical lab scientists who were upgrading from a diploma to do BSc. So I started teaching on weekend, that is on Saturday. In fact, Saturday they would range. Sometimes I'm teaching at 10 a.m., sometimes I'm teaching at 1 p.m. Then on Sunday, they would be either in the morning, so sometimes even shifting my church. I'm a Christian and I go to church. So I would have to shift whether I go for the morning service or I go for the second service. Sometimes it would be at night on Sundays or Saturdays. Yeah, so essentially I can say I was doing three, three jobs at the same time. And you don't want to imagine what that does to you. Well, I know people who are living abroad. Maybe you're in the US, you're in the UK. That kind of the normal, where you do shift jobs. You are here for this amount of hours, then you are in another job for a certain amount of hours, and so on and so forth. And so you're able to sustain. Sometimes maybe you're also a student, so you're doing several jobs to pay your tuition, being able to cater for your living expenses and all that. Yeah, so either way, whichever place you are, doing multiple jobs is extremely draining, honestly. And I remember I had a burn. I was not tired. Tired is an understatement. I think we are all tired. We are trying to make life, make a living. All of us are really tired. But for me, I had a burnout, and I reached a point and I was like, okay, I think I should step back. I was getting desperate. I was really crying a lot. I was wondering, should I quit? Should I just leave everything? Burnouts are dangerous because it goes into your mental health, and you start feeling like you want to drop everything. Literally, you want to drop everything. Nothing. You feel like you don't want to do anything. Yeah. So you're mentally drained, you're mentally exhausted. I was really exhausted. Yeah. And I can say that for sure, I don't think I've ever had up to now any other season of my life when I was really tired. And I can call it the hardest time of my life. Yeah, and maybe this checkbox number 2 will give you a better perspective because, of course, everything was happening at the same time into why financial stability actually became worse. So my checkbox number 2 is what I call the life architecture fit. Yeah, we are always in a certain season. Every one of us is always in a certain season, and they keep shifting here and there. And now, especially for women, our seasons are pretty volatile. They change. And so I usually say that it is important for us to ask ourselves a few things. For example, what season of life am I in? Does this opportunity require that I relocate, from maybe within the country, but in a different region or outside the country? Yeah, is there any travel expectation of this opportunity? Am I able to handle that? What is the emotional bandwidth that I'm going to part with? Then, if I have a partner, this opportunity, is it a decision that is collaborative? Because if it is not, you might end up having a lot of strain. Then, if you are a mother or you are planning to be a mother, how flexible is this opportunity? So I usually say that women have a lot of invisible labor that is emotional, domestic, and relational, And usually, if you ignore the fact that probably you have a husband, probably you have children or you're planning to have children, if you ignore that reality, it doesn't disappear, honestly. It just sets you for more disappointment and for more opportunities to get yourself stressed out. So it's something that you need to consider and see. So at the time when I was starting my PhD, I know this, most of you have no idea. Of course, I was married. I already had a 5-year-old daughter. But then, around the same time, I was 5 months pregnant. Yeah, I know you guys did not know that. Yes, I was 5 months pregnant, and I remember I communicated it. Of course, when I was going to MKU, I had really made sure I don't look like I am pregnant. I know we always do that. But once I went there, I communicated, but they still considered me. And maybe another even worse season that I was in regards to the pregnancy is that I had lost some pregnancies before this one. So I was also not in a very good emotional state. Pregnancy loss, child loss, any form of loss and grief is a big deal in any person's life, be it a woman, be it a man. Now, and in this situation that we are talking about, I was in a season where for us this was like a pregnancy after a miscarriage, a pregnancy after a stillbirth. So there was a lot of anxiety that I was having generally over what I felt within my body. And, I was always anxious about whether I'm feeling any sort of pain, whether I'm feeling any sort of unusual symptoms. So I must say that was a season when I was not emotionally ready, because pregnancy in itself is not a problem. But the fact that I had a history of pregnancy loss made it a bit of a problem, I must say. Yeah, so sometimes when I think, because I accepted this opportunity after I had communicated all that and they were comfortable and they said they give me the offer, but then sometimes I wonder whether I actually made the right decision, whether I was ready. Yeah, whether I was actually ready. And so maybe what I would ask, do you think I was ready? Or maybe, what do you think? You are a woman, maybe you are a girl. What do you think? Should I have said yes? Should I have paused and said, okay, let me first give birth, then I can think about career afterwards? And this is actually the question that often comes in our lives as women, and we need to actually talk about it. Whether should women or mothers have to choose between being mothers and being in career or business or whatever else? Should we have to choose? What do you think, guys? I would really want to hear you comment down below. Should we choose between motherhood and career? Yeah. So maybe I can say what I think. I don't think we should choose. I don't believe we are supposed to choose, but I believe that we need to first consider your situation and your season, and then consider how flexible the systems of the opportunity that you're taking are. Because I know of women who have taken time to first raise their children and then get into career or business. I know women who are doing the same. Who are doing everything at the same time, like I did. I know women who have said, let me not have children for now, let me not have a family for now, and first focus on career and have the children later. So all those are situations. So I don't think we really need to choose. But when it comes to a checkbox for an opportunity, consider the flexible systems. And what do I mean by flexible systems? For example, is there a reasonable maternity leave? Yeah, and of course, now you can imagine in the medical field, for me, a reasonable maternity leave would mean I'm able to breastfeed my child for 6 months. Yeah. Someone else would say at least have like 4 months. Then you have the 4 months to be able to express the milk that will take your baby for the next 2 months. Others would say 3 months. But of course, reasonable means that it can also be discussed within that opportunity. This is what they provide, but can we discuss? Because sometimes you have had normal delivery, sometimes you have had cesarean section delivery, all those challenges that come with it. So there should be reasonable maternity leave. We should have fair working hours for breastfeeding moms. Yeah, we can agree on the time. If there's a possibility of also working remotely, that would also be a brilliant idea. And then maybe once we go back to work, milk is always a problem. Maybe we can have a breastfeeding room where we could also have milk storage facilities like freezers where you express your milk, store it up there, and when you're going home, you carry it. Yeah, we should also have supportive leadership during early motherhood. And because we also have other factors like who did you leave your baby with, we have the issue of nannies, and I think this should be a whole video on its own when it comes to the challenges we have when it comes to nanny employment. You find that you have employed so many, or they just decide to leave. How unprofessional sometimes they can be. and just tell you in the morning when you are getting out to go to work that I'm not going to be there, and so much. So we should have supportive leadership within that opportunity to help you negotiate on such terms. Yeah. And one thing I have come to realize, and I know all of you mothers and even fathers agree, is that childbirth and breastfeeding is a very short season in terms of honestly, it's about 6 months when you really needed to be there with your baby. And then after that, they're able to manage breastfeeding at night or any other time. And there's actually a quote, I think it's C.L. Lewis, who says that children are not a distraction from the main responsibility. They are the main responsibility, because surely we need children in this society, right? And mothers need to give birth to these children. And mothers and fathers also have to be caregivers. And of course, there's that small season of when you're beginning. And I believe that if women, and of course, sometimes we have fathers as also the primary nurturers of small children, if they are given those reasonable terms, they will go back to work with a lot of energy. They'll be more stronger, they'll be more focused and more productive, as opposed to very unflexible situations where you are forced to go back to work too early. Nobody understands that you need to breastfeed. Nobody understands that sometimes househelps can leave. If it's a toxic environment where you don't have a reasonable maternity leave, it becomes very difficult. And if you go back to work, you won't be focused, you won't be strong, you won't be productive. So I believe because it's a short season, it should be well taken care of. So me, I went back. And this season was hard. It was very hard. So you can imagine now I'm facing two big problems: financial problem and a motherhood problem. Now, well, I have another checkbox that is checkbox number 3. That the opportunity should actually align with your long-term vision. At least I ticked this one. Yeah. Usually we say that every opportunity should pass through the filter of who are you becoming? What is your 5-year goal, 10-year goal? Does it align properly with that trajectory of your life? Then will this build transferable capital in terms of what skills you gain, what networks you gain, reputation you gain? Is this expanding or shrinking your identity? So my PhD opportunity aligned perfectly with my goals of research, of course, also getting my PhD. And it opened a lot of networks and many opportunities that I have discussed previously, travel opportunities and all that. And I said yes to this opportunity. So here's the truth. 1 out of my most 3 important checkboxes were fully ticked. So I want you to be the judge. Was this opportunity worth it? And as you judge and write in the comment section below, please also let me know what are your non-negotiable checkboxes when it comes to an opportunity, a job, a promotion, etc. Are there things that you negotiate? And maybe just for you, for food for thought, because it's also a problem I think that we are facing, maybe in developing countries, or with a majority of the opportunities available, and you find non-motivated workforce, because sometimes the opportunities that show up don't always check our boxes. But do we have an option? Yeah, kindly let me know, what are these challenges that we are facing, and why do we sometimes not wait to tick the boxes, and we just take the opportunity and run with it? So guys, I want to stop there, but I want you to talk about, oh, I have said so many things that I want you to comment. Kindly, I hope that you have noted all of them. Let's meet in the comment section so that we can discuss and deliberate. Yeah. Thank you so much. I hope you have enjoyed this episode and see you in the next one.